Ever wonder which in-game role is the best for climbing the rank ladder? Some roles might have a much easier time than others. What's going on, ProGuides family? It's your host, Sergeant Frost, and today we'll be covering our take on how the current Valorant roles stand for ranked. We'll talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each role as they apply to the ranked environment, and why they may have an easier or harder time trying to find success in ranked. But as a friendly reminder, by no means are any of these roles weak, but rather some roles have a much easier time performing in ranked than others. This is due to many factors such as random teammates, lack of communication, and less weight being put on those games. We'll discuss more as the tier list evolves, but that's a simple answer for now. But if you feel like you want to take a specific role to the absolute limits, feel free to visit our website ProGuides.com, where our Radiant and Immortal level coaches would be more than happy to help you with anything you need to improve. Also, we've partnered up with pros such as Scream, Tens, and Psalm to release courses that teach you the fundamentals and pro tips to help you become a better player. Let's start off this video with the S tier. Many of you guys could probably easily guess that the duelist role would take the top spot, and for many good reasons. Even though it's the most popular role by a large margin, it's still able to hold a stable win rate, which indicates how strong this role really is. It's fairly simple really. In a ranked environment, getting kills is the easiest way to carry yourself in a game. It seems cliche, however, players that are able to hold their own in the fragging department will naturally see themselves winning more games. Why are duelists so great at securing those kills? Well, their kits are designed for a faster paced individual approach. Most utility that the agents in the duelist role have at their disposal have a much lower delay before you can use them. In contrast, think about agents like Breach. Although his utility is quite powerful, it takes ages to pull out and use without the risk of getting caught out by timing. Another unique ability that the duelists have is the ability to be untradeable. Agents like Reyna, Jett, Yoru, and Raze have mobility in their kits, which allow them to play spots that are typically unsafe due to their escape options. They can duel players and then dash, dismiss, teleport, or satchel out. Because coordination is limited in ranked games, these types of fights are much easier to find. Even Phoenix can become untradeable in a sense where his ultimate is used. Many of their ultimates are designed to quickly take space without much needed setup, which can be one less thing to worry about when trying to react to a situation. Unfortunately, ranked is not this super structured environment that we might have hoped it to be. You can have teammates who are often unwilling to communicate, enemy players taking fights because they want to, the list goes on and on. Although you might see more effort to communicate and strategize as you climb the ranks, for the most part, players are often looking to take fights out of boredom or because they want to make a play happen. If you watch any pro players on Twitch, many of them won't play structured like a team because they know ranked isn't as close to as serious as it should be. Even in Radiant lobbies, the most common strategy is to just group up as 5 and take a site at a fast pace. Regardless of the rank I've spectated or played in, this type of mindset is still the case. Players aren't looking to play an extremely methodical approach to the game. A large majority of the time, ranked games are usually decided more by winning straight up gunfights. And what do you know, the duelist role is the best designed to do so. Remember, duelists thrive on chaos, and ranked facilitates an environment that is chaotic and unstructured. One reason could be because of how new Valorant currently is still. With only around a year under its belt, Valorant still lacks a defined meta, and the importance of roles is not very well defined. There's also many other reasons that make ranked currently still quite inconsistent, which we have also covered in our last video. Before we continue on with our role tier list, we have our question of the day. Today's question is, what role do you guys main and what made you decide to main it? Personally, I'm a duelist main, but I can flex on a pretty much any other role. I found that my personal strengths are being able to win gunfights up close consistently, which allows for me to charge into sight and create space for my team. Overall, I think it's interesting to see how quickly duelists are locked in, and I wish that there were more aspiring Initiator, Sentinel, and Controller mains out there. Of course, there's no shame in being a duelist if that fits your playstyle. Hopefully we see more love for the other roles as the Valorant meta shifts, and maybe the rank system gets improved as well. Now let's move on to the A tier. Below duelists, we have the Sentinel role. This one might be a little controversial, but just hear me out. Although you don't necessarily need a Sentinel on your team, having one in some form makes everyone's lives way easier. Remember how we mentioned how even in higher ranked lobbies like Immortal and Radiant, teams will still opt to barrel it down to one site? The Sentinel role is best designed at making it much harder to barge into sites through their ability to delay executes and section off areas for a few seconds. The ability to set up utility before the round even starts lets Sentinels mix and match their setups on site, making it a guessing game on what to expect. When a Sentinel is stopping these types of pushes, it can make the opposing team have to work considerably harder to even make it onto site. That team may even have to rethink the tried and true method of rushing the site and instead slow it down or start spreading their players out like a default. Because ranked isn't as coordinated, once a Sentinel has made it harder to stop these types of rushes, the game becomes less chaotic and allows for all types of roles to shine through. Agents like Killjoy and Sage are exceptionally good at holding down areas of the map. With abilities like slows, walls, mollies, turrets, and alarm bots, someone who is well versed on the Sentinel role can be a great anchor on the defender side. Not only can they slow down or completely stop pushes, they can buy their team info and time to rotate, flank, and stack sites. On the attacker side is where the Sentinels allow your team to not have to worry as much. Being able to throw down utility that can spot out flankers for you and your team can save you much needed stress when playing ranked. A well-placed tripwire, turret, or alarm bot can help spot out players looking for flanks, which is extremely useful information. Now the flank has lost its surprise factor, and dealing with it in whatever ways seem suitable can now come to fruition. Not to mention, sentinels like Cypher are great at selling out map pressure on the attacker side. Throwing some cages down at choke points can make it difficult to know where you and your teammates might be trying to pressure. I'd say one of the strongest overall sentinels in ranked has to be Killjoy. She has the ability to spot out flanks like Cypher, however, her utility is similarly great at holding down areas like Sage. Not to mention, Killjoy's ultimate is very impactful for taking sites or retaking sites as well. Having this type of no-brainer ultimate can make even the least of coordinated ranked teams be on the same page. Sage is another amazing pick, but lacks the utility to spot flanks. However, her other abilities more than make up for that weakness. With how much fighting and chaos there is that ensues in ranked, the heal and resurrection can go a long way to keep your team alive and even shift the momentum of a round. These two sentinels have some of the highest win rates in ranked, with Sage being the highest in the game. It's no surprise once you think about how ranked functions and how great their utility is in this type of environment. Overall, the sentinel is a role that doesn't get a lot of love. However, when put in the right hands, it's a menace in both ranked and in pro play. Now, let's wrap up the A tier with the controllers. Needless to say, you kind of need a controller agent on any given team for pretty much every map. Not having one on your team makes the game much harder to play. You can live without a sentinel, but having no smokes might make it exceptionally risky to get anything done when pushing sites. You might be wondering, well, if the controller role is a necessity, then why is this rated slightly lower on the tier list? Well, that's because even though this role is still very strong, the agents in this role have less individual flexibility when finding kills or setting up their own plays. Controllers are typically more team reliant, as your smokes and utility in general work better if your team is working around them together. Don't get me wrong though, controllers are very strong in their own right, and they are needed in every team comp to ensure things go smoothly, especially on the attacker side. Not having smokes to block lines of sight makes it very uncomfortable to push out of choke points with the fear of being shot from so many angles. In essence, controllers are here to provide the team with less angles to actively worry about. Yet, the role is much more selfless and therefore makes it harder for a controller player to use his abilities to find picks for himself. With that in mind, let's talk about the controllers that are better suited for rank than others. First, we'll have to say sorry to some of you Brimstone lovers, but Brim is not in the best place with how his abilities are overshadowed by the other controller agents. His smokes are great, but he lacks individual tools, which makes it harder to take advantage of opponents' weaknesses than the other roles or controllers. However, he is very easy to play, so he is a great pick if you're in a pinch for a controller agent. But in my opinion, Astra would do everything Brimstone does except better and also cheaper. Astra is a very strong pick at the moment with how versatile her stars can be and how she can play around her own smokes. She's definitely a much harder to learn agent, but with practice comes much better results when using her, and she can be used in almost any situation. On the other hand, Viper's a lot stronger now due to her buffs, but she isn't as useful on certain maps. She excels on Breeze, Icebox, and Split currently, but she lacks versatility on the other maps, making her a niche pick. Finally, we have Omen, who is a hybrid duelist controller more than just a straight up controller. His ability set is actually favored for ranked, because he has tools that can let him make individual plays and get out of sticky situations. Although he's not a very powerful controller, he has other tools that make him more than welcome in a ranked environment. Now, let's wrap up with the B tier. In theory, the Initiator role is one of the deadliest ones. Its ability to set up others for success is pretty much unparalleled. Sitting back and taking a look at each Initiator's kit, it's easy to see why so many pro teams have at least one in their agent composition. Some regions like to use two, like South Korea, but for the most part, they have yet to see the limelight, and I'm here to tell you why. At the core, the Initiators are filled to the brim with excellent utility that can be extremely powerful in the right hands. However, because most of it takes longer to take out, this removes the same potential to set yourself up with the same success. In ranked, players are often not thinking about how they can synergize with their teammates, but rather how they can find kills for themselves and ultimately win the round. Although their kits are filled to the brim with potential, sometimes it can be a double-edged sword. With so much utility that it takes to throw out, you risk having bad timing. Maybe someone peeks you while you're fumbling around, or trying to make plays as an Initiator. Your Sova, Breach, or Skye may be too busy worrying about their utility instead of simply having their own weapon out ready to brawl it out. An easy comparison would be to compare Breach and Reyna, for example. Yes, Breach has more flashes and stuns, however, Reyna's ability to quickly get a kill and survive is something that is much more valued in ranked. Not only that, Breach is a much harder agent to play at a high level, and you'll be thinking about how to set your team up more than how to set your own self up. At the end of the day, Initiators have the highest potential to be the scariest role in ranked, but due to how hard they are to master, the time it takes to use their utility, and how uncoordinated ranked play is at the moment, it's best to stay away from them as a whole unless you're playing something more information-based like Sova. Sova is the exception, as his utility comes out slightly faster and he's a bit more flexible than the other two due to his range and ease of getting value out of his utility. Both Skye and Breach have some of the lowest win rates in ranked, and it's not hard to understand why. Maybe some of you guys watching this will pioneer these agents into the ranked meta. But for now, if you're trying to keep your rank climb as straightforward as you can, think about playing the other roles before giving the Initiators a try. Picking the right agent role that suits you best is an important aspect of ranking up and improving as a player. While a role should not define how good you are as a player, it should dictate how you play in certain matches in order to give your team the best chance of success. Well guys, that's all we have for this video. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to hit that bell notification icon to ensure you stay up to date with all of our videos and ahead of the competition. If you want further help, feel free to check out our website ProGuides.com for the very best on-demand coaching. Our coaches are among the very best, and we hope that you check them out if you enjoyed this video. This has been your host Sergeant Frost, and I will see you all in the next one.